Hello, guys and gals and non-binary pals. Welcome to a morning stream. I'm 100% awake, I swear. I fixed the problem I was having with being able to stream yesterday, as evidenced by this is actually going live today. This is not connected right now. Well, eventually this will, the model thing will connect and it'll start working. But until then, whatever, PNG mode is fine. Anyway, we're going to talk about firework safety a little bit today. Because I know that there are a lot of people who are like me who have different problems with the random explosions that you're not ready for and things like that. But also, it was going to be yesterday, so tomorrow, but now today is the 4th of July for Americans, so Independence Day. People like to set off little tiny explosives to celebrate denouncing England as a ruler of the colonies here and all that sort of stuff. So we're gonna get into different ways to be safe with fireworks. I got all of the articles that I'll be looking at and like reading over with you in the video description. So we're gonna be talking about just in general firework safety tips, like pretty much their don't be stupid, be safe sort of tips. Then there's some tips to actually like enjoy fireworks and protect people who have just different sensitivities. Helping your pets not be afraid, helping yourself with if you have hearing loss or just sensitive ears in general, or like loud sounds startle you. And then we'll get into some extra effects that people don't really think about with like PTSD and just trauma being part of fireworks. And then the actual traumas, like actual PTSD will be mentioned. Like, the first one's more, or the first of those last two is more just talking about like trauma responses in general, and then the last one more so looks at like actual military sort of PTSD, and just things like that. Quickly having to type. Okay, now let's see if this works, because this is the first time I'll be switching to a different thing. Yay. Window capture. Please work. please. Why you no work? Why you know what work? So this is where there's supposed to be the internet browser in the background. I don't know why. Because it says that it wasn't showing it because it crashed. Because Streamlabs itself crashed. But okay. It's working now. So I can't complain anymore. This is the first article. This is general safety advice for looks like I'm gonna be a PNG today because it is not finding me at all. So we're just gonna not be moving around, and apparently I'll have my eyes closed this entire time. But that's okay. So general safety tips. It does talk about like people get injured all the time and leave it to the experts. Like, but for the most part, fireworks safety tips. If you choose to use legal fireworks, illegal fireworks are a little bit more dangerous. Because they're not exactly designed properly. If that makes sense. An illegal firework could have a lot shorter of a fuse than it should have, or it could be like 2, 3, 4 times more powder in there to make it a bigger explosion, and therefore a lot harder to follow these safety tips. But this is the National Safety Council. I believe that's what NSC stands for. I read it when it was like, I Google searched it, saw the link, saw what the title was, and went, yeah, that works. NSC. And then it's accidentally been 14 hours since yesterday when I attempted to stream this. So I don't remember. I went to bed. I slept. I don't remember what NSC stands for, but I'm fairly confident it was National Safety Council. I just had to look at the little tab thingy. If they're legal to buy where you live and you choose to use them, follow the following safety tips. Never, keyword here, never allow young children to handle fireworks. I broke that rule as a kid all the time. I loved setting off fireworks when I was a kid. Older children should use them only under close adult supervision. Don't just let a child run around with explosives. That's a really bad idea in general, let alone in this case. I realize I'm on the wrong side. There. Now I'm out of the way so you guys can see stuff on the right if there is anything. Don't use fireworks while you have alcohol or drugs in your system, because you will end up being stupid, or you'll try and walk away and fall over, and then suddenly you're a lot closer to the explosive than you think. Anyone using fireworks or standing nearby should wear protective eyewear. Personally, I don't really agree with that, but I wear glasses, so I guess growing up I've always had some form of protective eyewear. I would say that sometimes it does like fly towards your face, depending on which one. Never hold lighted fireworks in your hands. Yeah, most of those things explode or emit flames. Never light them indoors. Again, fire. Fire inside the house is not good. Only use them away from people, houses, and flammable materials. Don't use them indoors. Common sense. Never point or throw fireworks at another person. Those videos and things where people are like having the Roman candle battles. Don't do that. It's really dumb. Where were we at? Only light one device at a time and maintain a safe distance after lighting. It makes sense. You can control one a lot easier. But if 2 or 3 of them fall over at the same time and start pointing towards other directions, that's a lot more difficult to quickly contain. Never ignite devices in a container. This is mostly don't light it and seal the container more than likely. Unless they're saying like your container can catch on fire. But I've seen people light fireworks in like a plastic tub so that you can then pick up the tub and dump out all the papers and things that are left over. Do not try to relight or handle malfunctioning fireworks. Yeah, that shortened fuse is going to just immediately cause it to explode, or you're not going to know how long that has left. Soak both spent and unused fireworks in water for a few hours before discarding. That makes sense, to make sure that they're actually extinguished and not just like slowly burning down to the powder. Keep a bucket of water nearby to fully extinguish fireworks that don't go off or in case of fire. Most houses have a hose or things. So, safety tip. If you don't think you want to call the fire department if you catch something on fire, have water nearby for these things. And then never use illegal fireworks. People tamper with those. Make the fuse shorter, make the explosives more explosive, things like that. Make them more dangerous. Or better yet, get a blanket and patch a lawn, kick back, and let the experts handle the fireworks show. They're saying better yet, don't light fireworks yourself. Which is also a way to save money. If you want to save money, let other people light fireworks. Sparklers are also a lot more dangerous than you realize. Children can be found alone parade routes and at festivals with sparklers in hand, but they're a lot more dangerous than most people think. They burn at about 2,000 degrees, hot enough to melt some metals. They can quickly ignite clothing, and children have received severe burns from dropping sparklers on their feet. According to the National Fire Protection Association, sparklers alone account for more than 25% of emergency room visits for fireworks injuries. Children under 5, sparklers accounted for nearly half of the total estimated injuries. Consider safer alternatives such as glow sticks, confetti poppers, or colored streamers. Yeah. I didn't know about that 2,000 degrees until reading this article and deciding that this is what I was going to share. But it's definitely... Growing up, we were having the sparklers all the time. Like, all the time. I don't think we ever got burned, but we've had, like, sparks fall onto your feet or onto your legs and things like that. But also, if you wear long pants, wear long sleeves or whatever, I know it's super hot, like 77 degrees out right now. It's supposed to get hotter today. So like, I guess that's where I live, but it could be hotter, it could be cooler in anyone's spot. But just the idea of if you're wearing long pants or long sleeves and trying to protect yourself, there's a good chance that you'll be able to protect yourself and stop a burn. But sparklers are 2,000 degrees, so they'll still more than likely catch something on fire if it's more than just a tiny spark. I think that's just all of the general safety tips. A lot of it is don't be stupid. In the same way that you shouldn't drink and drive, don't drink and ignite fireworks. Don't impair yourself and cause yourself to be more able to be stupid with fireworks. Don't be unwise. Don't let little children light fireworks. And watch young adult children light fireworks so that if they need help or something's going wrong, you can pay attention. Because the other problem is, like, growing up, I liked to light fireworks because I thought that they were fun and they were explosives, and it was cool to me. So if at any point in time something went wrong and it did explode in my hand, if there was no adult nearby, I didn't easily have a phone to call 911 if I hurt myself, nor would I necessarily have been able to like think straight in terms of I need to call, I'm in a panic mode now. And if it was just us kids, I don't know how many of us would be able to list our home address, the street that we lived on, what the actual situation is, and like how desperately we need it right now. So you also need an adult around just for those reasons of if something does go wrong, an adult is much more likely to be calm because they've gone through situations or scenarios like that, or just know, hey, in the event of a fire or an explosive device going off in the wrong place, what do I call? For the most part, people still don't react as quickly to a lot of situations. That's why in a medical panic, it is a lot better and easier for one person to tell others, hey, you call 911, you call the parents or whatever of this person. Like, force someone to do things during situations. But just having the adult there to be able to watch and know how to act in those situations. It's just a lot more common sense. It's not something that we really necessarily thought of as a growing up child sort of thing. But I guess it also, there was always at least someone else nearby. I think even as kids we would have run inside and like bang on the door to a neighbor's house at worst case scenario. I don't think we would just all stand there and watch sort of thing. So that's the National Safety Council. Now we're going to go to an Iowa government page for 4 safety tips to enjoy fireworks and protect sensitive people. Where was I starting with this one? This is a lot more cut off. Okay. Let me adjust that for you guys. So this is a report from 2021. Between joint press release between the Department of Public Safety, Department of Natural Resources, and Department of Public Health to schedule an interview with the State Fire Marshal, Department of Natural Resource, whatever. Oh, this was because that there was a lot more droughts and things in 2021. So dry conditions and the threat of fire can cause some towns to need to take extra precautions with fireworks. Whether you're attending or celebrating, keep 4 safety tips in mind. This was a lot more with, hey, there's droughts going on. You need to be a lot more careful for fire safety. If your family or friends suffer from asthma or respiratory difficulties, siblings do for me, or a sibling does, it's important for them to stay upwind so you're breathing clean air and a safe distance from fireworks smoke. Elderly and children are also vulnerable to high levels of smoke. You want to stay where you're not breathing in smoke, because when you breathe in smoke, that's not good. Sensitive people are most likely to have trouble breathing when air is stagnant. No breeze, fine particles can be trapped near the ground and build to unhealthy levels. If you are really someone who can't handle the smell of smoke or breathing in smoke for whatever reason, is what they're meaning by sensitive people in this case. If you have any trouble breathing normally, you are considered a sensitive person. So all of these things can cause a lot of harm. Smoke contains fine particles and gases which can be hard on the lungs. Fine particles in fireworks smoke are produced from black powder used to shoot fireworks skyward, along with the metals that produce brilliant colors. So if you, well, most people can't. Most people can't breathe in black powder and be okay. So if you already have lung problems, such as you have lung cancer, you have asthma, you have pneumonia, or anything like that, they recommend not breathing near fireworks. So stay at a point. Like, if the wind is blowing north to south, you want to be on the north side of a firework so that the wind is blowing the smoke away from you. We're done here. Those unable to avoid areas of dense smoke should limit outdoor activity and contact the healthcare provider if experiencing difficulty breathing. Don't be dumb. Watch fireworks in moderation if you start struggling to breathe. Because I don't think anyone goes into a 4th of July celebration with the intention of, yeah, we're going to make this person suffer and potentially die from inhaling the smoke. Because people who actively celebrate the 4th of July are celebrating so that they can light fireworks, not so that they can get rid of family members. For the most part. There are probably some families like that. The second tip is that while fireworks and celebrations go together, they can cause serious burns and eye injuries. They encourage family to make sure adults supervise those fireworks and keeps young children from playing with or igniting them. Again, regular common sense. Keep them pointed away from you and others. Common sense. Back up quickly after lighting. I don't think I need to say common sense again. If they don't ignite or burn fully, don't relight them or pick them up. And then again, keep a bucket of water or a hose at the ready. Iowa says there were 7 inpatient hospitalizations and 15 emergency room treatments related to fireworks last year, so 2020. The third thing they say is play it safe if dry conditions prevail in your location. Shooting out fireworks is no fun if they ignite a fire, burn lawns, or nearby fields. According to the State Fire Marshal Division, municipalities and citizens are allowed to shoot fireworks despite a countrywide burn ban. That's interesting. You can get around burning your yard with fireworks. However, if fireworks are determined to start a fire while a burn ban is in effect, responsible persons could be charged. Keep water nearby. With the severe drought, it's also good practice to keep fireworks at least 300 feet from structures and dry vegetation. You don't exactly want to ignite your own house on fire. Finally, play it safe and dispose of your unused fireworks carefully. Safe storage and disposal protects you and your family and your waste haulers. And then there's a lot more stuff for Iowa specifically. But yeah, that's their things. In this case, when they're meaning sensitive people, they're meaning like people with heart conditions, lung conditions, breathing conditions in general that are not always the easiest to stay safe with. Next subject is fireworks and pets. Look at this dog. No. Tips for keeping pets and wildlife safe and happy during seasonal celebrations. It's a dog. Many animals become so frightened by the noise and commotion of fireworks that they run from otherwise familiar environments and people and sadly become lost. They may also suffer devastating or even fatal health effects from the stress. Sudden bright flashes and sounds can cause wild animals to run into roadways, resulting in more car accidents than normal, and wildlife rehab centers are often flooded with traumatized, injured, and orphaned wild animals after the holiday. So if you do live in a more out there place of living, bear in mind that you can be affecting wildlife as well as yourself. I can't remember if this has ads on the right or the left, so we're going to cover both sides. Predatory birds like bald eagles see the harsh sounds and lights from fireworks as a threat and may abandon their nests or habitats entirely. The explosions can cause other birds to flee for prolonged periods of time and use up vital energy reserves needed for survival. Fireworks have even frightened birds into flying so far out to sea that they did not have the energy to make the return flight. Wild birds frightened by the noise of fireworks also fly higher and for longer, which exposes them to the harmful cocktail of ingredients in fireworks like ozone, sulfur dioxide, and nitric acid that have caused cardiovascular and respiratory damage and even death in humans. So that's a lot of the and then sometimes the fireworks are mistakenly consumed by wildlife or even fed to their young. Many of these are either indigestible and therefore choking hazards or toxic to the animal, and they can contaminate drinking water for animals. And the slightest ember from fireworks can start a blaze that kills many wildlife species and destroy their habitats. So, with all of that very fun and happy talk, here's the safety tips. Keep your pet safely away from fireworks. Pets are more sensitive to loud noises, flashing lights, and strong smells. A lot of animals have much better hearing, much better eyesight, and much better senses of smell than humans do. If that surprises you, I'm sorry. On the 4th of July and other days, people are likely to set off fireworks, like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, sort of things. It's best to leave your pet safely indoors, preferably with a radio or TV turned on to soften jarring noises. Excuse me. If you're unable to leave your pet unattended at home, keep them leashed and under your direct control at all times. Don't let your pet wander, or the explosions might scare the pet away. If your pet is scared by fireworks, ask a veterinarian for help. There are medications and techniques that might help alleviate your pet's fear and anxiety. You can also try suggestions for helping your dog cope with loud noises. Keep your pets comfortable all year long by reading holiday pet safety tips. There are links in here. I left a link to this website at the bottom if you really want to read it and click those links yourself. Protecting your pet from heat stroke during summer festivities. Another reason to keep your pets away from often noisy celebrations in summer is heat. High temperatures put your pet at risk of heat stroke, which can become deadly very quickly. Keep an eye on your pets and act immediately if you see any signs of heat stroke. Never, all caps, leave your pet in a parked car, even if the day doesn't seem that warm. Temperature outside can be 72, but the temperature inside the enclosed vehicle can rocket to a fatal 116 degrees in less than an hour. Also remember that hot pavement can be dangerous to unprotected paws. If it's too hot for you to hold your hand to the ground for 5 seconds, it's not safe for your dog to walk on. This one is a lot more of a general safety tip, but also it applies to 4th of July and a lot of other time frames. Safeguard your pet with a collar and ID tag. All pets, even those kept indoors full-time, should always have a collar with an ID tag. Indoor-only pets can become so frightened during firework displays that they may take desperate measures to escape the noise, including breaking through windows or door screens. You should also ensure that your pet is microchipped and that the chip is properly registered with your current contact information. This is a more expensive option, microchipping your pet. But at the same time, I understand why they're saying it. If your pet does become lost, contact your local animal control and surrounding shelters immediately. Follow the rest of our advice for finding your pet. If you find a lost pet, either take them to the address on the tag or bring them to your local animal shelter so they can be reunited with their family. And their final safety tip is to encourage celebrations that use safer, more animal-friendly alternatives. I say consider working with local officials to require the use of colorful, silent, or quiet fireworks for public celebrations. Laser shows can be evocative of fireworks while being far less damaging to wildlife and polluting to the environment. And drone displays like the one seen at the opening 2021 Tokyo Olympics can be a colorful replacement for fireworks. I don't remember what this link goes to, but I want to click it now because I'm trying to remember. I don't think I ever saw this. Anyways, that's pet safety for firework displays. Personally, I like the recommendation of keep some sort of sound going on inside to muffle the outside sounds. Like, by keeping the TV on or radio playing, your pet can subconsciously, along with you actually, subconsciously focus in on the music or the sound of the TV and not the sound of the explosives outside. Or there's the case of watch the firework display live on TV. If it's being broadcasted somewhere, just watch it on TV. Oh, I am slowly almost awake. I am almost fully awake at this point in time. Oh. I said that and then immediately yawned. Here is the tips for helping people with sensitive hearing. Oh, this is the one that I needed to turn off this one. Have this one over a lot more. Okay. People with different sensitive ears, whether that's hearing loss or just like people like me who can't handle sudden loud noises that are unexpected. Like, mentioning this again, I liked lighting fireworks as a kid because I knew when they were going off. Like, I wouldn't just suddenly turn around and realize, oh crap, that's about to go off. It was a lot more, I was lighting it, so I was choosing what was going off and knew when it would explode, sort of thing. Nowadays, it's a lot more like you drop a metal pan on the concrete floor. I'm not prepared for it. I will jump and freak out. You ignite a firework behind me and I'm not aware that there even was a firework behind me, I'm gonna freak out. Those sorts of things. That's what they're meaning now with the sensitive ears. This is from US and World. Some Channel 13 news. I don't know what place has a Channel 13 news source, but that's what this website is at. While fireworks are an American tradition to celebrate Independence Day, some with sensitive ears, such as pets or veterans, can experience high anxiety during the blast. To help with this anxiety, they've compiled a list of ways to assist pets, dementia patients, and veterans during fireworks celebrations. Pets. They say loud firework noises can cause fear and anxiety in dogs, causing them to run away or hide. And when a dog does this, they are experiencing noise aversion, which causes symptoms similar to a panic attack. With this in mind, it's important to keep an eye on unusual behavior from your dog that is triggered by loud noises. Well, there are several ways to help your dog cope with stress from fireworks shows. So I guess they're not necessarily thinking cats do this as much, but specifically focusing on dogs. Keep your pets secured in a quiet room during the displays, or talk to your veterinarian about products and medications that may help. I'm not a physician or anything like that to be able to say this and pronounce it correctly. Trazodone, Valium, Zoloft, and more are prescription medications that can help. Calming supplements such as CBD, homeopathic medicines, and aromatherapy. And physical comfort such as anxiety vests or calming caps. And they also say make sure your pet is microchipped in case they bolt and escape from the noise. But again, microchipping is, as far as I'm aware, relatively expensive. So if you don't do that, or can't do that, always get a collar with an ID tag. Like, yeah, they could take off the collar, but it's better to have it than not have it at all. People with dementia and Alzheimer's. Firework noise can create challenges for families affected by Alzheimer's disease and other dementia-related illnesses. The AFA, or the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, says fireworks can be distressing for someone with dementia, especially if they are a veteran. Even when the person is inside, the noise from firework explosions can cause anxiety or agitation. Large crowds can also be overwhelming for people with dementia. That's just an in general fact. They've provided tips to make the holiday dementia friendly. Consider keeping the person indoors at times when fireworks will go off. Adapt the fireworks tradition by watching a film display on TV. Explain to your loved one in advance that there may be loud noises and continue telling them this at different intervals. Don't let them forget that there's going to be loud sounds. That's basically what it's saying. Don't let their brain suddenly stop processing that there are going to be loud sounds that could be triggering. Put on soothing background sounds such as white noise machine or an air conditioner. Have their brain focus on other sounds. Have comfort items on hand like a blanket or an article of clothing. Occasionally check in with your loved one during the night if they live with you. If they live alone, stay overnight with them or ask a trusted friend, relative, or caregiver to do so. If they go into shock from the explosives or anything, you'd rather be there than not. Keep gatherings small and give guests name tags to help the person with dementia recall who is who. That's just a general tip for people with dementia. Host celebrations during daylight to prevent confusion as the sun sets. Keep the person's routines as normal as possible, including meal times, nap times, and bedtimes, while incorporating favorite activities throughout the day. I don't really care about this one, but you can read it yourself. And then moving on to veterans, which they could also have dementia. But this is a lot more focused on anxiety at this point. Recognizing triggers in advance can prevent potential problems. Some common triggers for veterans during the holiday include light sensitivity to fireworks and sparklers, especially at night. Strong reactions to sounds like fireworks, ceremonial guns, and cannon fire. Anxiety in crowds. Yeah. If a veteran will feel like they're in a war zone, that's not good. Flashbacks triggered by sounds or smell. Feeling distant from family during celebration, and risky behaviors like excessive alcohol consumption. whether or not you care for the military, these are things that anyone with any form of trauma based off of explosives or large crowds or anything like that, like whether it's specifically for veterans or not, anyone with any form of, hey, this is going to be triggering for me, should be a lot more aware of it and take these precautions. Other helpful tips include, if throwing a celebration, ask guests in advance if they experience difficulties during fireworks. Don't force someone to come if they're going to be not okay. Use quieter alternatives to fireworks such as sparklers. Even though sparklers could be more dangerous, they're quieter. Consider excluding alcohol or other intoxicating substance from Independence Day celebrations. You don't need to drink to have a good time. Practice a few self-help tips or relaxation exercises. And find more resources for veterans or their families on Make the Connection website, which is hyperlinked here. Yeah. Don't invite people to festivities if you know that they're going to not be okay. Because A, it won't be fun for that person. And B, you'll just become more and more stressed by the person not having fun. Because you're going to keep consistently being worried about that person having heart failure or something like that. Like, if you're causing someone to have a panic attack and freak out and like scream and react in a bad way, it's not going to make it fun for you. You're not going to have a good time. And a lot of people later on might go, oh, it was okay except for this part. And then you're like, well, why did you force this person to be there? Or why did you not warn this person that, like, hey, these things are going to happen? Because not everyone realizes, oh, Independence Day, have a get-together, have a good time, hang out with friends, drink a bit, sort of thing. Not everyone intends, yeah, let's get together and have some drinks on the 4th of July. Not everyone is going into a situation like that with the intention of, oh, there's going to be some small explosives going off. More often than not, it's, oh, you invited me over for alcohol and things? Okay, I'll do that. We're going to watch other people light fireworks, not we're going to light them ourselves, sort of thing. The next article is specifically looking at trauma responses to this, and it gets into a little bit of actual PTSD. But this is the one that is focused fully on PTSD. And this second one that we've got is more about PTSD, but more as like a focus. So I guess this article that we're going to look at now, the Penn Medicine News, is a lot more of what is PTSD, how can it affect this celebration event, what does it do? Oh, not that one. There we go. Just adjusting everything so that it's hopefully, if there are ads on the right, hopefully it covers them. because I don't always know what those ads are going to be. Sometimes the ads are fun. Sometimes they're just really not good. And sometimes the ads are very much, hey person, this is where you live. And I go, no, don't show that, please. I don't like those ads a lot. Where did I want to start with this? This is basically a giant article here. The Overlooked Effects of Fireworks is the title of this. This is an article from 2020, July 3rd, 2020. Which I just had to process was 3 years ago. Wow. Time flies. COVID-19 and surge in civil unrest have led to unprecedented levels of anxiety. For veterans, particularly those dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, the past months have been particularly difficult. I don't remember what happened exactly in 2020, if that was the start of the Ukraine crisis stuff. It could be. I don't remember specific dates and things. I'm not good at that. Recent events go in one ear and out the other. Like past events? Oh, I can tell you about the past all the time. So, I don't remember what they're talking about here with the civil unrest. Because I don't remember when the Ukraine stuff happened. Or started, I should say. It is still happening, as far as I'm aware. I don't keep up on the news. I don't look at the news, because the news is depressing. Where was I? Well, I was up here, but I don't really need to read that. Very loud and very bright showcases have interrupted nightly slumbers. While fireworks may be entertaining for some or just a nuisance for others, for those living with post-traumatic stress disorder, the evening spectacles could trigger serious mental health consequences. A clinical psychologist and director for that place shared how this trend in pyrotechnics has endangered the well-being of those living with mental health conditions. Awareness of PTSD seems to have increased over the years, but when we talk about PTSD in the clinical sense, what are we referring to? Defining your variables, that's what this is. PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, is a significant mental health condition that affects about 8 million Americans each year. So it is a condition that occurs after a major trauma like exposure to combat or interpersonal violence, childhood abuse, or a life-threatening car accident. There are a number of different symptoms, but the kind of main categories are the classic symptoms like nightmares and flashbacks, and then you have avoidance, trying not to think about the trauma, as well as feeling disconnected and blaming yourself for things that happened, not just finding joy, just not finding joy in the places that you used to. The last cluster of symptoms is what we call hyperarousal, aerosol, I don't know, which include an inability to sleep, difficulty concentrating, It really feels like there's more to that sentence, but that's a period. You don't get along well with people, or you're feeling irritable. And for veterans and civilians with PTSD, there's a feeling of having your head on a swivel, like you're on guard at all the time, and feeling really jumpy. Is it more common in vets than any other populations? It's common in both veterans and civilians. One of the reasons that we think about PTSD in veterans is because they're exposed to traumatic events in a group, so it's easier to see the effects of the trauma. When a group of soldiers deploys and returns home, we can compare their functioning to their functioning prior to that experience and see the symptoms emerge. It was easy to initially study PTSD in veterans because we can see a group trauma, whereas in civilians, things are happening much more one-to-one. So we think about things like a car accident, childhood abuse, or domestic violence. Those traumas may not even be reported, so at first glance it appears more prevalent in veterans, but we actually know it's really prevalent for both veterans and civilians. With that said, veterans are uniquely likely to experience trauma, both because of their service, and that studies show veterans are more likely to experience traumatic events in childhood. Yay! PTSD isn't a joke. But I'm trying to make light of the situation because this gets heavy very quickly. To the point that I think I should probably do one of these. I need to copy this. Let me quickly do this. And that source, then change the words. Ooh. Let me change the words, because that's not what we're talking about now. It never lets me quickly change the words of what my content warnings are. Whoa, that got really tiny. And really blurry. What the heck? So the bigger the font size, the less blurry it gets. That's weird. Why is this so gigantic? This is why I just keep it up on the other slide. There we go. Hopefully that's better than me just... Is that visible? We're going to put it on the right side. There. That's a lot more visible now. I hope that helps in case it is necessary. Yeah. Cool. I hope by having that content warning now, the rest of this will not be triggering. I know I mentioned each of the title, like each of the articles we were going through, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more I probably should have put that warning up initially. So I'm sorry if there was any problems for people. I don't try to do that naturally. Alright. We are here. Recently, I've heard about certain events and actions as being triggers for PTSD. What is a trigger? Trigger is a shorthand term for anything that cues up thoughts, feelings, and memories about traumatic events that instigates PTSD symptoms. It can be sights, sounds, or smells, but common ones that most combat survivors experience would be those loud and unexpected noises like fireworks. Yeah. Other common ones are people walking up behind them, kind of unexpected or unannounced. But some triggers are more unique to the trauma itself. Those more individualized triggers are harder for other people to know about. Some individual triggers could be like suddenly being touched or whatever. Like people walk up behind you, put their hand on your shoulder so that you know that they're there. That could be a trigger for some people, but for others it's just a okay, whatever sort of things. So that's what they're saying. Like for some people, those sorts of these loud and unexpected noises like fireworks could be triggers, but for others it's like, oh, whatever. The specifics of this. What makes fireworks so problematic for individuals living with PTSD? We know that stress in general drives up symptoms for PTSD and most mental health conditions. So anyone with PTSD is going to be more on edge right now because we're in a pandemic. This was in 2020, so keep that in mind. People are experiencing financial strain and there has been increased violence and unrest in the city. To top it off, we now have these nightly occurrences of those really triggering stimuli and these unexpected sounds. I think anybody with PTSD and perhaps people in general are more likely to be on guard right now. Hello. Welcome to Firework Safety Tips. We're talking about PTSD right now. In terms of fireworks, individuals with PTSD, as well as any combat veteran regardless of their PTSD status, are more likely to be triggered or respond to this kind of stimuli. So you have a loud, unexpected noise, often under the cover of darkness. If we think about what a combat scenario looks like, you're expecting incoming fire and explosions that you have been on guard for that are often happening at night. And fireworks serve as a very significant reminder of these experiences, PTSD or no. So this really does impact people. It really disrupts sleep. It increases stress. I would say it's a pretty significant stressor for people. This is all of the writer or the Leah Blaine, PhD, clinical psychologist person talking. We're here. What actions can we take to be more considerate of our neighbors who may be living with PTSD or other mental health conditions? Everyone can be considerate in a few ways. If you're going to use fireworks, try to make sure it's at predictable times. Veterans and society in general expect fireworks on 4th of July weekend, but not necessarily on a random Tuesday in August. The other suggestion is to restrict their use to reasonable hours, so trying to wrap them up before 10 p.m. can be a great way to make sure you aren't impacting too many people's sleeping habits. If we are aware or suspect that a veteran we might know might need help in dealing with stress or coping with everything going on right now, how can we try to help them? National Center for PTSD is a fantastic resource for veterans and civilians as well as their loved ones and advocates. If you are worried that you might be struggling with PTSD, strongly recommend PTSD Coach. It's a free app filled with great educational materials, screeners, and it can help you connect with tools as well as find therapy and other supportive resources of that if that's of interest. this PhD person or writer, I don't know which, is good at throwing in a clip about an app. Because I wasn't expecting that until I was reading it. Well, that's okay. The last thing I would mention is if you're specifically worried about a veteran, Coaching into Care is a good resource. It's run through the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they have a national hotline that loved ones can call to learn strategies for connecting veterans with services. And then the rest is about actual pen medicine, calling their own hotline. So that is what PTSD is, and how it can affect people with the 4th of July. Pen medicine seems to be a lot more of a research-based thing than a news-based stuff, because it didn't have like firework safety tips. It focused solely on this is what PTSD is, and this is how it can affect the holiday here. The next one is warning: fireworks are dangerous and can be traumatic for some. This is a health article. Health.mil news. I don't know what that is exactly. We are adjusting all of these things. Okay. There we go. Everything should now be much more focused. Oh, I forgot myself. I forgot to move myself. I go over here, which means that the chat box needs to go over here or above. I'll just adjust it so it's not sticking out into the article. There we go. Yay! I moved you guys around a few times. Sorry about that. This at least is targeted a lot more on the fact that fireworks are dangerous and can cause stress and trauma sort of things. Whereas the last one was focused a lot more on this is what PTSD is and how this holiday can emphasize that. This is a lot more of here's specifically firework safety causing or fireworks causing trauma-based responses. Firework safety is crucial for a happy and light-filled experience. The most important rule of thumb is to never mix alcohol in fireworks. Sloppiness can lead to injuries like losing a hand or an eye. That is a lot more dramatic, a lot more consequential of a sentence than all the other ones, which have just been like, yeah, don't mix alcohol. Be safe. It can lead to injuries like losing a hand or an eye. It's a lot more dramatic of a sentence. Every year, about 10,000 people are treated for injuries in hospital emergency departments due to mishandling the live, misfired, and waste consumer fireworks. The United States Fire Administration branch chief for the National Fire Programs said that. This is from Well, the picture's from 2018. Oh, July 2nd, 2021. So this is also still a relatively new, but not exactly new, article about firework safety. In addition, fires resulting from fireworks cause over $100 million in direct property damage. Some good advice is to take part in and enjoy professional fireworks. You get the fun and the spectacle without taking on the risks. If you plan to set off your own fireworks, be sure to read and heed the warnings and instructions that come with the fireworks. Then we get into the PTSD part pretty quickly, and then general safety tips again. This is a relatively short article, so we're just going to read it. Fireworks and PTSD don't mix well. Fireworks may be very unsettling to wounded veterans, especially those with post-traumatic stress disorder. As a veteran struggling with PTSD, abrupt bangs and pops often provide me with a jolt of anxiety, usually for a brief moment before remembering that I am in a relatively safe place, and it's probably something mundane. This person said. However, around the July 4th holidays, we know that fireworks are a national pastime for celebrating, so it's not usually a surprise that hit of anxiety isn't present. But if you are a person dealing with PTSD symptoms and hearing a series of pops and booms are a problem, try using noise-canceling headphones to drown out or muffle the sounds, or stay inside. This might be a way for you to experience the holiday celebration without the anxiety or fear that the fireworks may cause. It may also be the path to being able to enjoy the holiday again like you did before you experienced the events that led to your dealing with PTSD. Other than staying inside. Those are the words of a person dealing with PTSD personally. So, that's that person's advice. Firework safety tips. Again, a lot of these are common sense. Always have an adult present. Do not let children set off fireworks. We ignored this one as a kid a lot, but always having an adult present was not ignored. Check your local laws and drought conditions to make sure fireworks are allowed in your area. Keep your distance once a firework is lit and approach studs with caution. Do not relight them. I know growing up, whenever we would ignite a firework and toss it, and it didn't go off, we would wait a few moments before we even tried to approach it. And even then, we did not pick it up immediately. Poke it with a stick or kick it with your foot first, sort of thing. Because at least shoes protect your feet, whereas your hands don't have protection. Direct fireworks such as Roman candles and bottle rockets away from buildings. Do not point fireworks at other people. Do not attempt to light more than one firework at a time. Again, a lot of these are very much common sense things. Younger children should not be allowed to hold sparklers no matter how much fun they are. And then this gives the temperature warning. The temperature of a typical sparkler is 1800 to 3000. 3000 degrees Fahrenheit. I said 1800, my brain went 3000. Yeah. Enough to burn skin and ignite clothing. So, don't give young children sparklers is the more strong version of the safety tip we saw earlier. Sparklers are a lot more dangerous than you think. Don't give them to people. Always keep a bucket of water, a fire extinguisher, or a garden hose handy when fireworks are involved. Thoroughly douse used fireworks in water before discarding. Keep your pets inside during firework displays. They could become anxious and frightened and may try to run away. Be a good neighbor. Alert your neighbors if you plan to shoot off fireworks so they can put their animals inside. Very few people do that. like, very few people ever mention, hey, I'm gonna be lighting fireworks. Which is sadly the case for most places. Courtesy does not happen. That's actually the end of this article. Because all the rest is just like, hey, these are similar articles underneath. Or like different topics, but same sort of idea of having a summer barbecue and like safety tips and things. But that's everything from me for this one. What you learned today? Don't be stupid with fireworks. Don't drink and try and ignite fireworks. If you have a pet or a person who is going to be triggered by these events, either first and foremost, don't light them, or let the person know that you're going to light them, or keep them inside. For pets, keep them inside, put on some light background noise. For humans, light background noise is still okay. Just let them know that you're doing that. And as this one mentioned, tell your neighbors that you're going to do that, because if they have pets and aren't expecting a firework to go off a house away, 3 houses down, their pet isn't going to be ready for that, whereas you are. General safety tips. Sparklers are a lot hotter than you think. That's the other thing that a lot of these mentioned. And keep water handy. And like, don't just throw away your fireworks. Soak them in water, because there could be a tiny little ember still in there by the time you try and throw them away. And then the other thing that has been mentioned is, in drought conditions, check if it's even okay for you to light fireworks. Because sometimes the drought condition is so bad that you are not allowed to. Don't point them at people. That's the other thing you'll learn. That's another thing that should be common sense, but then people like record themselves having Roman candle battles and things like that, and it's like, that's really, really dumb. Firing an explosive at your friend, it's not something you should do. And don't light more than 1 firework at a time. That's the other thing that's mentioned multiple times. Because 1, you can't look at 2 things at a time, even if they're right next to each other. If a firework starts going to the left and the other one goes to the right, your brain and your eyes can't focus on both at the same time if they're going in opposite directions. So if you really like fireworks, you're going to look at the pretty one and not be able to see the other one that you also think is pretty. But if you light them one at a time, you go, ooh, that one was pretty. Ooh, that one was pretty. But also you can control, hey, that one that I'm not looking at anymore, where is it? Oh, it's suddenly flying towards me. That's a problem. Whereas if you light them one at a time, you go, oh, that's suddenly flying towards me. I need to get out of the way. Those sorts of things. I think that was all the general safety tips for this entire thing. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in and hanging out, watching. I do think I will be moving the stream that is scheduled for later tonight, for like in an hour. I think I'm going to move that back. probably closer to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock maybe, just because I need to have lunch before I do that, and also I'm tired. I don't normally get up at 9 when I don't have any real reason to, so I'll probably take a nap, to be completely honest. But thanks for hanging out with me for firework safety tips. Sorry I could not do this last night like I intended. For some reason my computer, for like the 3rd time this week, went, hey, your device drivers are out of date. We can't function. You can't stream. You can't play games. Sorts of things, which is very interesting because it's worked for 4 months, 5 months since the last time I had to change it. And now it's almost 6 months of streaming, so it was very weird to suddenly have that problem again. I'll also figure out why the VTuber model is not registering my face and whatnot, but that's a future problem. I'll deal with that off camera. So I thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys later today at 2 o'clock for Kingdom Rush. We are almost at the end of that. Hopefully today's stream, I will just keep going until we're done, unless I get stuck on a level. But that is everything from me today. I will see you all later today. Have a good night. Have a good day. Peace out.